The day bison graced your village was the most important day of your life. But for me, it was Tuesday.
Welcome to the Rated G for Gamers podcast, episode 369. Before we start the show, we want to thank all of our wonderful fans who have supported us. And if you want to show support for the Rated G Network, you can find us on Patreon at patreon.com/RatedGforGamers. You can also find us on YouTube, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and Threads at Rated G for Gamers. And finally, please rate and review us on iTunes and Spotify. We appreciate all. I'm your host, Dave Rotino, and this is my co-host, Dan, the podcaster formerly known as Classic Robinson.
What's going on, man?
It's hot as hell right now, Dan. Not that I have any frame of reference, but I hear hell is very hot, and it's very hot in New York.
It's hot. It's hot, and it's supposed to rain. I wanted to go to the beach today.
Mm-hmm.
I was gonna end the show with, "What are you doing this weekend?" I'm going to the beach, but guess what? I'm not. Because it's going to be thunderstorms yeah, it's going to be cloudy and thunderstorms.
It was raining like crazy last night and the day before, so, you know.
Yeah. So I know, I do want to talk about something just for 1 second.
Oh, yeah,
I know we usually keep this for Saturday Morning Retro with our pickups, but I just
Dan's
want to
got
say,
something special.
I did pick up The Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom strategy guide, right?
Nice.
Hardcover strategy guide.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
This thing is awesome.
Mm-hmm.
I love this thing. I mean, look, you could Google anything.
Yeah.
But I am old.
Yeah.
Okay.
He admits it finally.
I am old.
More than 25, yes, folks. It's more than 45.
I am. Yeah.
Peeling back the
26. 26.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm old.
You grew up at the end of dial-up. Oh.
I do. I did. Well, I give you a point of reference. I do work in the legal field, and when you do legal research, right, you do use like Westlaw and Nexus, Lexis, which nobody really uses that anymore. Nobody really uses that anymore.
Oh, really? Oh, okay.
Yeah. Well, because Westlaw is a little bit better, but you do pay for that. It's like subscription based, like Games Pass, bring it all into the games. I will say this. I can tell you a little secret that nobody, I'll tell you a legal secret. When you're in the legal industry, people do.
Lay it down.
When it's something they don't know, before they go to Westlaw or even LexisNexis, because they have to pay for it,
they look it up in a book.
Google it.
Oh, they Google?
No,
yeah,
Google
of course.
They Google it first.
Uh-huh. You got to. Come on now.
To get a point of reference to see if maybe not for the big firms, because the big firms have like an account with like these Westlaw and all that stuff.
Sure.
But when you I do enjoy, and trust me, I will bring this full circle. I do enjoy, if I do have to look something up, I do enjoy going to a legal library and picking a book, because that's how I learned how to do legal research. Right. So I do pick up. So I enjoy books. I do enjoy hardcover books. I don't want to have a library of books.
Right.
But I do enjoy certain books.
Especially a nice like hardbound book that has like good design to it, right? Thick pages, like it just feels good like flipping through it. Yeah. I'm with you.
For anybody in the legal field, you know what I'm saying about horn books, right? Those I Google. But when it comes to regular, I love like big covered books. So I had to get the Zelda Special Edition.
Several of the Dark Horse. Is that from Dark Horse or?
I'll be honest, I don't know. I had ordered it. Funny enough, I had ordered it before. No. I think I ordered it before we went and waited online for Tears of the Kingdom, or maybe shortly after. And it just came like 2 weeks ago.
Because Dark Horse, 2 weeks ago or
whatever it was. I didn't get a chance to open it up and look at it until recently. So I don't know who made the book.
Okay, because Dark Horse did all of the Zelda books, the Hyrule Historia, the like the character book, the weapons and armor, like everything. Like Dark Horse did all the stuff. They even did the first Breath of the Wild book, which I have, which is great, which also has a coffee stain on it, and it's a white bound book with white pages. So I fucked up a little bit there, but I cleaned it up as much as possible. But
maybe-
I have a decent amount of them. They are great. I feel like Dark Horse may have done that one too, because Dark Horse.
Maybe it's Dark Horse.
Good. It could be.
Well. Point. Give me 1 second. I do have the special edition.
Oh, here he goes. There he goes. He's getting something out of the stack, boys.
I do have special edition.
Yeah.
Breath of the Wild.
Yeah. That's a Dark Horse book.
Hardcover.
Yeah.
Yes.
I'm pretty sure. Yeah.
So I'm gonna say maybe this could be the Dark Horse book. Who knows? If you're watching us on video,
Look at
I have both books side by side.
You know what's interesting? They are two different design aesthetics on there, and I like them both. I don't know which one I like better, because one is like a giant tableau of, Link climbing the mountain, which is like iconic. You know, that's
nice
kind
and
of
colorful.
Yeah. And then the other one is like this nice gold foil stamped insignia of the Master Sword and like some filigree around the sides. They both look good. I can't say which one I like better, but yeah, it's good stuff. Good stuff.
And no Spider-Man cup this episode. And I know I'm not wearing my uniform, but I am
The uniform, yes.
Uniform.
Not wearing the rated G.
This is a blank slate. But I love wearing my meta hat.
There you go.
Esports team, baby. Just in case.
Oh.
Full circle.
I thought you were a big fan of Mark Zuckerberg.
No, this.
Learning something new. Learning something new here.
I wonder if they. Well, I used to wear the meta hat. I got this at not E3 PAX like 2019, I believe.
Yep.
I wonder when they rebranded everything from Facebook to Meta. I wonder if they said, you know what, we got to own the Meta esports team too, just to bring it full circle.
He certainly got the money.
But I don't have the Spider-Man cup, but I do have my PAX Boston cup.
There you go.
Yeah. The small cup that Dave hates. He hates these small cups.
That's not a small cup. That's a regular size cup. I like the oversized cups better.
This is pretty small. No, this is pretty small.
Oh, it looks like a regular cup. Looks like a regular cup.
No. Spider-Man is like gigantic.
Yeah, Spider-Man's a large cup. Yeah. Spider-Man's my size cup.
This would be tall at Starbucks, and it's really small.
Okay. All right. Tiny. Yeah. You got to have enough to fill your cup.
Yeah.
And
who knows what's in my small Boston cup?
It's a nice cup. It's got all the little. They look like little D&D die, right?
Is it? That's what this is?
Yeah, it's all like little geometric shapes, but I think they're meant to be like you look at the A, it's supposed to be like a 6 or 4-sided die or whatever. I think that's kind of the aesthetic they were going for. Yeah, good stuff.
All right, Dave. We have an awesome show this week. Coming up, we're going to talk about the verdict in the Microsoft court case the FTC court case against Microsoft. And then we're going to talk all about limited run games 2023 showcase, which I'm not going to lie,
It's a good one.
they outdid themselves. I kind of really like the premise of the showcase. They're always entertaining, When it comes to the entertaining factor of it, I don't think anybody can touch them.
No.
And not even Devolver Digital with all their bloody, gory,
They're in the
scary story.
They're in the same boat of like, let's have a narrative to this thing, let's have fun with it. Yeah. But I think I'm actually with you. Last year, Limited Run did like a parody of the full motion video games. From the early 90s, which was like their kind of conceit for the whole show, which I thought was good. But this year, I think I'm with you.
Yeah.
I think I'm with you.
But before we get into any of that, let's begin the show with the PS5 Access controller. The price and the release date has been revealed. If you don't know what this is the customizable, accessible customizable controller for the PS5. It is now going to be priced at $89.99, so $90.
Yep.
And it's coming out December 6th. Pre-orders begin Friday, July 21st.
I think this is $10 less than Microsoft's accessibility controller, which similar. I mean, the idea is you have a base thing and then you can customize it the way you want. I believe the PlayStation 1 comes with a bunch of things you can kind of pop in, pop out. Then you can buy additional accessories for whatever your disability is, or but the PlayStation 1 is a round style controller, right? It's kind of like a spoken wheel, or spoken hub or whatever, right? You got that centerpiece, and you kind of build it out from there, however you need to, so you can play video games. So awesome. The Microsoft one has a bunch of 3.5 millimeter jacks. I believe you kind of do have to buy a lot of accessories to make it work. I think the PlayStation one may be a little bit more accessible out of the gate, right? Because they kind of give you some more stuff to work with. Most likely you're probably going to need to buy additional accessories to make it work, but that's the whole point of it. It's supposed to be as accessible as possible for the widest amount of players that have sort of disabilities. So happy that Sony's in the ring now. We're just waiting for Nintendo to come out with theirs, right?
Yeah, they're probably not going to do it. They're probably not going to do that.
Well, I mean,
they haven't. They haven't shown any in the past. They haven't shown any. I mean, I think. Okay, you know what? To be fair, let me say this. To be fair, I think their controllers, they may not be customizable, but sort of accessible on its own. Like Joy-Cons, you could play games with movement, right? Like just like the Wii, right? So I don't think they'll have an accessible controller where you can customize every aspect of it, at least anytime soon. But their controllers are sort of like easy to use, especially with motion controls.
They're pretty basic. They're meant for the younger crowd for sure. And I think you're right. I mean, well, you definitely. I mean, they have like Mario Odyssey and Zelda. They had motion control. You didn't have to use it. You could use the standard controller style. So they give you those options there. I feel like there's a market for it though. If I don't think anyone's really come out with like this level of accessibility in a controller for Nintendo. I think a third party could totally do that. I think it'd be kind of neat, right?
Yeah, correct.
Interesting.
Also, we got the full trailer this time for the Twisted Metal series that is, coming from Sony. Twisted Metal, obviously, a Sony IP coming out on Peacock. I think this fall, if I'm not mistaken, with Falcon himself.
Anthony Mackie, baby.
Yeah, I mean, he's doing big. He has his own video game series, right, on Peacock, and then he has Captain America 4 coming out that he's been working on.
Yep.
Don't know how far we are in production with Captain America 4. Don't know if it's done. I know there's a strike right now, so he may be a strike.
There is a writer strike and now a actor strike. I don't know if you've been keeping up with all of that, but apparently, contracts that studios are trying to sign now there's a clause in there that says we own your likeness for like
so they
extras.
So they can do AI.
So they can clone you. They can do whatever with it. They can make you in whatever projects they have in perpetuity. You basically sign your likeness away, which is insane. And pretty much all of the actors are like standing in line with the writers. It's crazy. Like big name people are like not down with what the studios are doing. It's crazy. But
all right, but that has nothing to do with the Twisted Metal series because it's done.
Twisted Metal series
coming out on Peacock.
It's in the bag. Yeah, season 1 is in the bag.
This is more of a comedic show, more comedic than I thought it would be. I mean, I know we got the teaser trailer at Summer Games Fest or the games, right?
Well, we got two. We got the one with Anthony Mackie riding in the car to steal my sunshine, right? He's got the.
Oh yeah, that's right. I forgot about that one.
So he's got that. There was that one, and then the one at the games, which was him and Sweet Tooth, good old Samoa Joe, or the wrestler playing the likeness of Sweet Tooth. And Will Arnett doing the voice of Sweet Tooth, and there was a little bit of comedy.
I didn't know Samoa Joe. Wait, I didn't know that was Samoa Joe.
Yeah,
you serious? That was Samoa Joe?
That is Samoa Joe. Yeah, Samoa Joe, baby.
I didn't know that. Well, you know what? That brings us to like the opening intro of the show.
Uh-huh. There you go. Bringing it back. It's right. AEW.
AEW, baby. I didn't know that was. I got to go back and look at that. I did not know that was Samoa Joe.
Yeah. It's. I think it's a good move. No offense to Samoa Joe, but I don't think he's got the acting chops or the comedic timing that Will Arnett does. So I get why they're kind of mishmashing them together. Will Arnett obviously doesn't have the body Sweet Tooth, but Samoa Joe,
yeah.
he fits the mold, you know. He's got that kind of like fit fat going on, right? Very interesting. So I don't know.
No, this is more of like I didn't realize this would be more of like a comedic show. I thought it would be like more of a semi-serious show with comedic elements. But it is completely a comedy. This is a complete comedy.
I mean, it's
where he's asked to
with comedic time with comedy.
He's asked to sort of transport something from one part of this universe to another, and obviously he runs into some issues. And
it's a Mad Max kind of world.
It is a comedic Mad Max. And it's something I didn't think they were making. I thought they were making something semi-serious. I'm not saying it would be totally serious. Not the DCU serious, but I thought it would be semi-serious with some comedic aspects to it.
Well, what if they went hardcore DCU and they had almost no comedy? Like I feel like it would have been a little bit too bleak. And then it's like, well, now you got to have, because like. I hear what you're saying, like you're looking for a certain thing and they didn't, so far they haven't hit that mark for you, right? It's a little too like wacky and whatever. But look at the characters in the universe. Arguably the main bad guy, Sweet Tooth, is a guy who drives around in an ice cream truck with a mask with a flaming head and like some bondage gear across his chest and like polka dot pants. How do you make that serious without like, I don't know. How do you make that serious? That's hard to do.
I don't know.
Exactly. You got to have some comedy elements in there. Not to mention. Well,
again, I'm not saying there's not going to be comedic aspects to this, right? You can have some comedy in it, but I didn't know this would be this is Seinfeld in this is Mad Max meets Seinfeld essentially. I think that's a little. I mean, come on, it's true.
No. It's more MCU than DCU. I'll give you that. I think it's more like the MCU, where like
I don't think it's
every movie has comedic elements.
It's not MCU or DCU. As a matter of fact, it's MCU.
I think
it's the MCU meets Martin from the 90s. That's Martin from the 90s, the TV show. If you don't know what it is, Google it.
I think the thing that like you're harping on from this new trailer is the point where he has like a quote unquote companion with him, and he gets like he comes in contact with some raiders or bandits or whoever they are, and he's like trying to like put some guns out to like face them head on, and like he doesn't have any bullets in there, and he's like, oh, hold on, and he's like fumbling to put the bullets in, and the girl's just like shaking her head. Like, okay.
I thought this would be more more Walking Dead with comedic elements to it.
I think
it is not. It is not.
Well, look at the backdrop.
Every part of the trailer is all comedy. This is
that's what they're showing to like bring some levity. But I mean, like he's a transporter. He's got to bring stuff. Like he's essentially Mad Max. He's got to bring stuff across the country. Like they're kind of setting the tone of like this is a dystopian future, right? There's like weird like enclaves and townships, kind of like Fallout. Like there's a bleak backdrop. I don't know. Like I'll say this. I think this trailer was a lot better than the last one. The last one was weird. The combat wasn't that great, and Will Arnett's voice of Sweet Tooth was like throwing out all these quips and all that, and I was like, I don't know about this. I don't know. I thought this new trailer was a little better. I feel like they're giving you a lot of the comedic bits in the trailer to like go, oh, this seems kind of interesting to kind of get you involved.
Just so you know, it is listed as an action comedy.
Okay.
So it is more of a comedic show, which is not what I thought this would be.
Okay. I mean, you're still going to watch it, right? You're still going to give it a go?
I'm still going to watch it because Peacock cost me $2 a month. I've been using it.
Well, what else is on there besides The Office and now
Days of Our Lives, baby? I told you, soap operas, Days of Our Lives.
There you go.
Loves Days of Our Lives.
There you go. Show that's been running.
They took it off of TV and put it against a paywall. There you go. Yeah, well, yeah, definitely since the 60s. Since like 64, I believe.
Yeah, that's great.
Anyway, Dave, as we always try to start the show but epically fail, what have you been playing?
I am still rocking Diablo 4 on the PC. It's good.
Okay.
I've hit level 40.
I was about to say, you're way past me then.
Oh, yeah, you kidding me? Trust me, my character is moving along. I think it goes up to level 100 for the base game. I'm at level 40. Once you hit level 50, the Paragon skill tree opens up, which is a whole other thing. I haven't really looked into it too much because like there is another tab next to the skill tree and it says unlocked at level 50. But that has other stuff in there, so you get extra abilities. I don't know if the skill tree ends at level 50 or if the skill tree keeps going and you get the Paragon tree. So it's another like way to customize your character from there on out. But there is a lot more content to the game. One thing that is interesting, I don't know if you know about, but they're kicking off Season 1 of Diablo 4 content. You may say, well, wouldn't Season 1 already be out because the game is out? It's no. So they did this with Diablo 3. There were seasons, and they would introduce more content. They were kind of like mini updates. They weren't DLC or an expansion. You would more or less just get them for free. They did have expansions. They were more substantial, but you get new content, new dungeons, new weapons, new items, tweaks, or whatever, this and that. They would always keep adding in new stuff. But the way it works in Diablo 4 is to access the new content, you need to make a new character. So what I think, So what I think happens, well, what I know that happens with both of our characters, once Season 1 rolls out, the characters that we have currently can't access the Season 1 content. So if there's new weapons, new dungeons in Season 1, we have to roll a brand new character and play through that stuff. And I believe... Well, go ahead.
Do you have to pay for Season 1? Like, is that
No. Season 1's free.
It's just free.
Yeah.
Okay.
Now, if there's, like, DLC, like, here's an update with a brand new character class and, like, a ton of new stuff, like, obviously that'll be paid for. But seasons are free, as far as I understand it. But I believe whenever you create a new character, whatever season they're up to, you get up to that level of content. And the idea is that you would be rolling a new character every time new season content comes out, and then you'd build that character up. So you'd have all of these different characters with various levels of season content unlocked for your character. Now, I don't, on its face, I hate it. I haven't really looked into why they would be doing it that way, and why not just like take your character and give them access to the new content, right? My level 100 character now can do some new stuff. All right, I'll play a little bit. I would say that they're doing it to increase the longevity, the life, and the whatever. They give you a little bit of stuff, and now you got to grind it out from level 1 again. I think that's part of it. Gameplay-wise, like, I don't know what the reasoning is for it. Maybe there's a good reason of why you would want to be at level 1 again. Maybe your character choices would change and whatever else based on this new content. Maybe there's new content that kicks off at level 1 as opposed to, like, level 100. Like, is it just endgame content, or is it, like, a new mechanic or new stuff that kicks in at level 1? I don't know. But I'm not necessarily a fan of it on its face because it, like, makes it a lot more grindy in a game that's already pretty grindy. So, we'll see. Okay. But, so that's coming out in, I think, like a week or so, or maybe 2 weeks. Like, it's like right around the corner, Season 1. They keep putting it in your face, like, Season 1's coming. So it's pretty soon. So, we'll see. We'll see what I don't even know what content they have there yet, so we'll see. But,
okay. Well, I've been just chipping away at Final Fantasy 16 or Final Fantasy May Cry.
Yes.
I think I'm finally at the end of Final Fantasy 16.
You think? How do you not know?
I think.
How do you not know?
Well, every time I think I got a final boss, it's always somebody else. So I'm running out of people to beat. So I think I'm at the end right now, kind of, right? Because there's nobody else. So I'm at like 37 hours in, and I know they said it's about 34 hours to beat the game.
Yeah.
Right. So, and I've lost a few times, which sort of extended my time. So I think I'm at the final boss. I think this is it. So I'm almost at the end.
Okay.
Hopefully by the next episode or the episode.
I mean, I know
after
you're
that,
going to beat
we'll
it.
probably
It's
take
just
a break. Yeah,
just a
I'll
matter
take
of
break.
when. Yeah. And I'm curious. No spoilers, but I want to know your thoughts on the ending, how you feel about how it all wrapped up and whatnot. I know there's some people that are a little like they kind of saw things coming. It was pretty telegraphed and whatnot. I'm just curious when you ultimately beat the game.
I think I have an idea what's going to happen, right? I do. Honestly, I thought halfway through the game, I was like, I think this is going to happen at the end, but we'll see. We'll see if I'm right. I'll let you know.
Okay. All right.
So, on that note, let's take a break. When we come back, we get into the top gaming news of last week. And we're back. All right, Dave, let's get into the top gaming news of last week. And we have to start with Microsoft's win.
Do we?
In court against
Do
the
we have
FTC.
to start with that?
We do, and I thought you would be happy. I thought you'd be doing backflips. I mean,
No.
you know, you ever see? You ever see?
Well, go ahead. Yeah,
you ever see? Wait. You ever see the movie "I Got to Get You, Sucker" from the 80s?
Oh my God! Of course,
With
the
Keenan-
freaking the Keenan Ivory Wayans classic, the pre In Living Color comedy classic. I love that show.
You ever
or
see?
movie.
You see that? You see the scene when they're when they pull I think they pulled the guns out on him in the diner, and his mom comes in.
Yeah.
And then his mom does all the backflips, and obviously that's not his mom.
Oh, yeah,
that's like
yeah.
some white guy dressed up as his mom doing the backflips. And then she beats up everybody, but it's obviously not his mom, and
Yeah.
they cut to his mom.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
I thought that would be you in this episode where you're doing the backflips, and you're like, yeah, because Microsoft won the battle with the FTC.
Have you not been listening to my criticism of the whole entire thing? I don't think.
Yeah, but in your heart, you are an Xbox. You are more of an Xbox fan, as you call me a PlayStation.
I am more of an
apologist or
Xbox
more for
fan.
PlayStation.
I am more of
There
an
you
Xbox
go.
fan than you are. 100%.
There you go.
But
There you go.
but now, but I think on its face, this is bad for business. All right.
So, well,
general,
you know what?
In general, I am against consolidation of
The industry's consolidation.
in every sense of the word.
Judge Corley disagrees with you. Okay.
Judge Corley,
This is about Microsoft's bid to purchase Activision Blizzard for $68.7 billion.
Let's just
right?
60. Okay, let's just call it a cool 69. Come on.
It's like 300 million.
That's a drop in the hat, Dan.
A drop in the hat.
300 million or whatever it is, or 3 million.
Dave,
or whatever.
you know what? Why don't we
is
just give them
nothing.
why don't we just invest 300 million? This is a drop.
No.
It's nothing. It's
To
nothing.
Microsoft, it's nothing.
Okay.
Just call it 69.
Okay.
Just call it 69.
So-
69 billion.
So the decision was handed down July 11th, which is a day earlier than we expected.
Oh my God. Oh my God.
12th.
Coming in early.
Yeah. So the quote, the judge's decision, the FTC has not shown it's likely to succeed on its assertion that the combined firm will probably pull Call of Duty from Sony PlayStation, which they have obviously, end quote, they haven't. They said that they would, they pledged to keep Call of Duty on PlayStation for at least 10 years, or its ownership of Activision content will substantially lessen competition in the video game library subscription or cloud gaming markets, end quote.
So this guy is from the FTC making this quote.
No, this is Judge Corley who wrote this. So basically the FTC has not shown its likeliness. Right, they have not made their case successfully.
Right. So this was I guess the last hurdle, last ditch effort. The FTC has been trying to block this. They didn't come with receipts. They didn't do their due diligence. They kind of half-assed it. They were trying to claim that this would be bad for business and that Microsoft would,
which we both agree is.
No, we
Which
do.
both
Yeah,
agree in.
100%.
We
But
both
but
agree.
but
Yeah.
the FTC is trying to make the case that Microsoft is going to have the monopoly and the dominance, and they will. And they were trying to make the claim that Call of Duty is not going to be on PlayStation anymore. Microsoft's not going to do it in good faith effort. Not to mention of bringing Call of Duty back to the Nintendo platform on the Nintendo Switch. It's been a while since Call of Duty has been on that platform. So
one of the issues is they mentioned Sony more than they mentioned consumers. They mentioned Sony like 73 times and consumers like 17 times.
sure.
So they have that perception that they were fighting more for Sony than they were fighting for consumers.
Right,
and obviously they don't think they didn't want to, the FTC didn't want to mention the Switch, where Microsoft kept bringing up the Switch, right? Kept bringing up Nintendo. They didn't want to mention Nintendo. And Judge Corley did say that Nintendo is a competitor. But where I was sort of baffled from was all the interviews where Microsoft said Nintendo isn't a competitor. They don't look at Nintendo as a competitor because, I don't know I don't know how old Judge Corley is. I don't know if Judge Corley has any kids or any grandkids, but if she did, let's just say she's a little bit on the older side and she does have kids or grandkids. Her grandkids would tell her that Switch is not a competitor to a real competitor to Xbox. Everybody would have a Switch. And for the most part, you're not going to say, am I going to buy a Switch or am I an Xbox? It's either you're going to buy a Sony PlayStation or you're going to buy an Xbox console, where everybody would have a Switch because they completely think the Switch is sort of like a handheld device. Most people don't play it docked like I do. They play it like you. They play it like you and handheld.
I see the argument. I mean, I see both sides of the argument. You can easily, and I think both parties have successfully done that. Microsoft says it's not a competitor because you can't play Halo on it, right? You can't play, like, the graphical quality and the whatever is different. But
in the world, in the real world at E3 they say it's not a competitor, but in court they said it is.
We're right. But by the other token, it is a competitor because it's in the same space, obviously, and there are
it's a video game company.
Yeah, and there are a ton of games that are either on both systems or even cross-compatible. You can play Minecraft on there. You can play all the third-party indie stuff, right? You can play Wolfenstein, which is a top-tier AAA game. Alien Isolation, Doom. They have a lot of stuff that you can play on both.
Years after it came out on Sony PlayStation and Xbox consoles.
Well, I mean, still though, like they have games that are like big, but like stuff like Halo, Gears of War, obviously aren't going to come to those systems. So I don't know. I mean, I can see it either way. I mean, obviously companies are arguing, both sides of the coin. I would say that they are in the same space. They are competitors. Now, you're right. You're not going to, it's just like back in the day, right? You would either have a PlayStation and a GameCube or an Xbox and a GameCube. No one's really going to buy a PS2 and an Xbox because they're so similar, right? There were some exclusives on both, right? But,
and that will determine your decision on which one you're going to be, which exclusives you like more.
Right.
Or you're clamoring to play more.
Right. And I think
on either Xbox or PlayStation.
Yeah.
And to be fair, back in the day, PS2 had more the exclusives,
it was killing it. Yeah, no, it was killing it. Now, I think it's the same today. PlayStation does have more exclusives. I think Microsoft's itching
better
for those.
Exclusives. I don't know if it's more, but they have better.
I think they have a lot more. I think they have a lot more. But and I also think they're better. Yeah, 100%. There's not a lot of people. I mean, there are a lot of people, but there's not a large percentage of people that have both PlayStation and Xbox. Because if you have one, you have 90% of the library on the other. There's a 10%, 5% that's exclusive to PlayStation or Xbox. And then if you account for PC, it's even less because most if not all of the Xbox games are essentially on PC. And a lot of the PlayStation exclusives are coming to PC if they aren't already on there. So, it's interesting. It's interesting. But again, to go back to it all, it's bad in that it's consolidation, right? It's the Thanos Infinity Gauntlet, bringing all the stuff together. And the reason that's bad is that if Microsoft has a monopoly, let's take Game Pass, for example. Well, if they have all the games, they can essentially charge whatever they want. Nobody else is going to be able to make a competitor that has the library and the breadth of content that Microsoft does. So they can say now, well, it's going to be $30 a month or $40 a month, and that's the only game in town. Like, you don't have other options. No, and nobody can compete in that space. That's the thing. I don't think Microsoft's going to do that. That's the thing that could happen. Or they could say, we're not going to put any games out on PlayStation now. Call of Duty is Xbox exclusive. You know, what they say and what they do are two
eventually
different things.
Well, they're under oath saying that they're going to keep Call of Duty on PlayStation consoles for the next 10 years.
Well,
so they can't go back on that.
Like, does that mean they put out Warzone that's like games as a service?
First of all, they can't go back on that. Phil Spencer was very specific on new Call of Duty games will be on consoles.
Let's say they make a new Warzone. Let's say they make a new Warzone, right? And Warzone is a game as a service.
Okay. Well,
one game.
Warzone will be on PlayStation.
Yeah, one game. So they have one new release. Now it's going to.
That's actually not how that works. He said they would keep new games on new Call of Duty games.
Well, how many though?
Like
he says, games. Maybe games. Games is
no.
Games is
that's not how that works. They will keep new games on. The real question that you're trying to get at is, after 10 years, what will they do? And quality.
No, I'm not.
Will they have down quality? Will they have down quality? Will it be better quality on the Xbox than it will in PlayStation?
Well, he didn't. Okay. So hold on.
He specifically said new Call of Duty games for the next 10 years will be on PlayStation. So let's get that out of the way. We're not talking about that. The question is, will it be a better quality on Xbox and PlayStation? He did say no, they will be similar quality as long as obviously they have access to the technology. Will they, after 10 years, the question really is, after 10 years, what happens? Will they sign a new agreement, or will things go exclusive?
So I like that question too. I think there's a couple of things.
Well, that's the only question. New Call of Duty games will be on PlayStation.
Let's play devil's advocate here.
There's no devil's advocate. He was very clear in what he said.
Well, I want to break down what he said real quick. You know, not to get too much into the weeds on it.
Well, we don't. But you want to get all in the weeds. Okay.
Well, could you not read what Phil Spencer said?
No.
Hold on, you're shaking your head. Hold on. Let me get out a one interpretation of what it could be. So he says new games for the next 10 years, right? What Phil Spencer has said is that if the acquisition goes through, he wants to turn it away from a yearly release into a every couple of years situation, right? He wants to break out of that, right?
Potentially. We don't know what they're going to do, but yes, potentially.
Well, okay. I'm just going
that's
off
something that he has
Phil
mentioned
Spencer
in the past.
I'm just going off what
that's something that he mentioned in the past.
Right.
Yes.
One interpretation of what he said could be viewed as, well, okay, maybe we'll put it out every 2 to 3 years, right? We'll keep the same studios. They'll be working on it. It'll be a longer development cycle, right? We'll put more effort into it. We'll make them more unique and all that, right? Cool, right? Great. I like that as a thing, right? You could interpret what Phil says as for the next 10 years.
Which would be a 4-year turnaround for every Call of Duty.
Every brand new release would come on PlayStation consoles for the next 10 years.
And Switch.
Well, all right, yeah, you can interpret it as both the Switch and also the PlayStation, right? You could also interpret it as, well, we have this Warzone. Well, let's put out Warzone, right? So that's a game. If we interpret games as multiple, as plural, all they have to do is put out...
Which is what he said.
Well, yeah, but all they have to do is put out 2 games. And they've satisfied that quote, or he has satisfied that quote, right?
No, that's not the essence.
He has, though.
No, that's not the essence of what he said, and it's not the contract that they would sign. The contract that you sign is specifically the new entry in the series. We
don't know what the specifics of the contract are, right? Because
the contract, all the experts have said all the new Call of Duty games are coming out, so that's not in question. So you're questioning something that's not in question.
Well,
all the new Call of Duty games.
We still don't know.
It's a new Call of Duty game. It's a new Call of Duty game. It's coming out on that specific console.
I'm not saying that it. I'm not saying that it wouldn't.
Which wouldn't be 10 Call of Duty games. If they do
No,
go
it'd
to
be
more
like,
of a, every other year, it would be half of that. It would be 5 new Call of Duty games because they could do it every other year.
Maybe 5.
Which I think would be better.
It could only even be like 3, given the timeline. We don't know how long they're going to be parsed out. If they are going to even go through
but
with
whatever
that.
the new entry is, would be the new game.
But we don't even know if you're going to call into question like, because you're like calling into question like if they're even going to parse it out. And do it every number of years. They could still go through.
I
and
think
do
they
a
should
game a year.
wait,
but
they could. So that could be 10 games. That would be 10 Call of Duty games each year.
It could be even more than that
if they do every year.
It could be even more than that because Warzone is its own thing. Warzone is on top of all their other stuff. Warzone is their games as a service, which is free to play. Yeah. But I'm just saying that if Phil Spencer wasn't the guy that we know that he is. And I think he's going to do these things in good faith. He could.
Doesn't matter about Phil Spencer, to be honest.
Well,
nobody's going to sign a contract. They're going to sign a specific contract to have the new entry in the Call of Duty series.
Who is signing the contract? It's between Microsoft and
Nintendo,
Activision, right?
No, it's not. It's between Microsoft and the console, the console holder.
Well, that's
Sony,
separate
Nintendo.
Outside of the acquisition, right? Like now, that may be contingent on the acquisition going through, but the contract that Microsoft and Activision signs is to sign over the rights for $69 billion.
Yeah, but that's irrelevant. The question that we're discussing is the console between Sony, Call of Duty coming out on Sony platforms and Nintendo platforms and streaming services too, because that's a part of the deal too. They're gonna have to put it out on other streaming services and not keep it exclusive to Microsoft's streaming service.
Well, what other streaming services are there? There's
in the UK they have a lot. In the UK they have a lot.
Well, that was a specific carve out for the UK. That's only in the UK too, right? That's not outside the UK. I'm just saying that there are ways to interpret the things that were said.
There's no way to interpret that because of the contract, the specific contract that they offered was new entries, brand new entries, not just Warzone, brand new entries.
Well, you could make a new Warzone game and call that. That's what I'm saying. What if they put out a new Warzone?
It wouldn't be considered a brand. It wouldn't be considered a brand. It wouldn't be considered a brand new entry. This is
why not?
From all the experts because it wouldn't be considered that. It would be a breach of contract.
All the experts call it Warzone too. It's got a new title. It's a new IP. It's a whole new thing.
It's not the mainline entry in the Call of Duty series, which is what the contract would state that they would get.
Well, we don't know specifically. I'm just saying
experts have already discussed. The experts have already discussed this. This is not in question. So the point is, let's stick to the question at hand. 10 years. What would happen after 10 years? And that is what Sony is really worried about. What would happen in 10 years? But I think this could be a potentially good thing for Sony because it would make them, again, competition breeds quality. This would make them double down and look at their portfolio and try to make a Call of Duty like game, right? And that's just a good thing for consumers.
I mean, they should have been putting out new kill zones, new resist. I mean, we talked about all the franchises that they have under their belt, SOCOM and all that. They were relying on Call of Duty for so long. I feel like, I mean, they're obviously they've been behind the 8 ball. They are behind the 8 ball in terms of their first person shooters, right? They haven't put out any exclusive first person shooters since 2014. That was the last Killzone, Shadowfall, I think, right? The launch title for the PS4. That's the last one.
Well, yeah, you're right. They have Killzone. They have SOCOM, which is, sort of like a one-to-one competitor. I didn't realize this. For Honor is owned by Activision Blizzard. I didn't realize that. For Honor.
That's another game.
So it's not just Killzone. It's not just Call of Duty. They do have For Honor. So they could resurrect. I mean, we need to do maybe one of these episodes. We'll do an episode. We'll sort of dive deep into all the dormant franchises that Activision Blizzard that they own that could be resurrected by Microsoft, which would be a great thing. And look, they own Hexen. And what did Phil Spencer wear during the Microsoft showcase?
Oh my God!
And
oh my God! T-shirt. Yeah, I mean, he loves to do stuff
and
like that.
And they own id. they own id, so they could do something with
They
a
own
new
id
Hexen
software.
with id and reunite them, right?
Well, there's
That could be-
Hexen and there's also Heretic, which are technically in the same universe, which were
they could do that.
based off the Doom engine and franchise and all that, like this kind of medieval-ish version of it. I would love new games like that. I was just thinking this morning, let's take it back even further, Dan. Activision, the arguably the best producer of games for the original Atari, right? Well, I don't even think it's in contention. I think they were the best producer. Pitfall, like you can take it back to like Pitfall and all like those games. You could bring all those forward. Like Activision has been around for ages. What's that?
I did say they should buy Atari. They should. It's an American company.
Atari would be a drop in the hat. But the thing of it is,
just reunite.
The thing of it is, Atari is owned by two separate entities. So one owns
reunite them.
One owns the games IP, and one owns like the branding. There's at least two different companies. You'd have to like make two different acquisitions in that.
Buy both of them. Look, you know what?
They certainly could. I don't think anyone's going to care. No one's going to care.
$300 million gap that we're talking about. That's a drop in the hat. A $300 million purchase to reunite them and put them together.
Sure.
And now they own everything that came out of Atari. They own everything.
I know. It's crazy. Man.
I've been saying that for the longest. Just to wrap this up. Right now, experts are saying that this could, when you listen to this show, this deal could be done. They could own Activision Blizzard by this deal, barring some unforeseen circumstances.
Mm-hmm.
So I thought that was interesting. We'll talk about it next episode if it actually does happen.
Yeah.
But I've said this from the beginning. I said this is going to go through. They're going to get them. There
is a Shake Shack bet on the line, but it has to be that they wholly own them. All the contracts are signed. Everything is done. And they're under
contracts
their
are
fold.
signed. Money. It's money. It's
but
money
everything. Because I don't want. Well, they still have to go through this thing. They still have to go through this before it's official. It has to be like done in the books, and that Microsoft can put on their website. We own these things. You can now play them. You can't have any roadblocks in the way, because I don't want any of the like. Well, they signed the contract. No, it's got to be like done. It's got to be complete.
It's done. It could be done. It could be done.
Well, I want it like complete, and no hurdles and roadblocks.
Experts said it could be done.
That is wild. Well, this has been at least 2 years in the making. At least.
Well, the thing that's wild is that E3 didn't happen, but E3 technically did happen, Back to the Future style. And that's because Limited Run, I got to say that they are the most interesting sort of showcase every year. Them and Devolver Digital.
Yep.
Yes. Mm-hmm. And this year is no different. And I think it's the best thing that they've done. The best thing they've done since last year they had the FMB thing. I didn't really like it. I thought it was okay.
Oh, you're insane,
I thought it was okay.
The
showcase that they did with the virtual E3 audience and stuff. But this time it actually went back to 1990, 96.
They you should love this too. They basically modeled it off of the Sony conference. Right? It was like Limited Run was back in 1995, and they did the whole thing right down to the graphics and everything.
It was back then we didn't have a Sony conference. It was just a conference, and everybody came on stage because at the beginning of the conference they talked about the Saturn.
Yeah.
And then so it wasn't a Sony conference.
Well, it was meant to be like
Sony made a memorable pitch when they just walked on stage and said $299.
Yeah, well,
that wasn't the Sony conference. It was just E3 back then.
Well, right, but it was Sony's presentation or whatever it is, right? Everyone's sharing the same stage and this and that, but I don't know. It was meant to be like of that time, right down to like the the graphics, the VHS style. Yeah. He
went back in time to show them games that they don't know anything about. It was great. We're not going to get into. I think it was like over 30 games. I'm not going to get into every game. We're going to get into a lot of the games, but not every game. But I will start with. They did announce I think they already announced it, but they did talk about their in-house engine, the Carbon engine, that's spearheaded by a modern vintage gamer who was a prominent YouTuber. This is how they're porting some of these modern games, old games, classic games to modern consoles. Mm-hmm. So And I'm not gonna lie, I like that hat. I wonder if I could buy that carbon hat.
I mean,
The hat. I'm a hat person.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
know my hat person. I like that carbon
I am
hat that
almost
he
certain
wore
they have it on the website. Limited Runs merch game is on point. I don't see why they wouldn't. If not, you should totally hit them up on social media and say, "Hey, you should sell the hat in the store." Put a little pressure behind them, right?
So, they started off the show with, which I thought was their best announcement. They had pretty good announcement.
Wait, you think this was their best announcement? This one right here?
To me.
Oh, okay.
To me, this was the best.
Okay.
And that is the Castlevania Advanced Collection, getting a physical edition. By the way, it's not about new games. It's all about games that are digital that are going to get physical editions.
Well, there was a couple of games that were. Well, we'll get into those maybe. I think there was one or two that were brand new, maybe.
Man, Castlevania Advance Collection, which is Castlevania Circle of the Moon, Castlevania Harmony of Dissonance, Castlevania Aria of Sorrow, and the NES version of Castlevania Dracula X. And pre-orders go live.
Version. Is that?
SNES, yes.
Is that that? I thought it was a different. I thought it was the Turbo Graphics version, or the Turbo CD version.
Well,
maybe it is. Maybe it is the SNES one. Yeah.
I actually looked up the Castlevania Advance Collection, which you can buy physically on PlayAsia for the Japanese version.
Right.
They're bringing this obviously to the West, and it lists that this SNES version of Dracula X. So I'm assuming that this is what this is, nothing new. Pre-orders go live during July 28th.
Yeah, I was surprised by the last. I was surprised by the last entry, because it goes in chronological order from the first GBA one, right? It was a launch title for the GBA. Correct. Circle of the Moon. Harmony of Dissonance was the second one. Aria of Sorrow. I figured Dawn of Sorrow would have also been on here, and I think there's a couple other ones on the DS and 3DS that probably should have been in here. Not to say that Dracula X is not a great game. I think it is very good. People like Rondo better, whatever. It was just weird, right? Because they kept going in chronological order, and we'll give you this Super Nintendo version of a TurboGrafx game. I'm not complaining. I was just like, I figured Dawn of Sorrow would be on there.
Well, it is called the Advanced Collection, so it's all the games that came on the Game Boy Advance, and I think this is just like an added bonus.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah, I guess so.
And it looked for Konami to put out the DS collection, Castlevania DS collection.
I am sure they will. I'm sure they will. Right. Yeah, no, I know. I mean, I guess you're right. Or as you're right, they are calling it the Advanced Collection, so that makes sense.
Yeah. Then we got Scarlet Symphony. Looks like a 2D Castlevania game, right? In that vein, I thought that was like a cool get. Like, I thought this was when I first saw the trailer, I thought this was like some lost Castlevania game that never got released, or maybe it was out in Japan and never got released in the West.
Nope.
Apparently, it's not. It's just a regular game, Scarlet Symphony.
Looks great.
Looked pretty cool.
It looked really good. Very, very much Castlevania. So,
yeah, this is something I knew you would be excited about because we talked about it on the show, or maybe Saturday Morning Retro, and that is Rise of the Triad.
Oh yeah. It is a fucking Apogee classic, man. Yeah.
And it's coming out with the Ludicrous edition. I don't know how many.
Is the physical, yeah.
Physical, yes. So how many were there? Any? Just
the one.
How many Rise? It was just the one.
Just the one.
Because I didn't know this from back in the day. I didn't really I never grew up with Rise of the Triad. Like, this is new to me, especially when you first brought it up on the show.
Yeah.
I didn't know anything about this game. I was always just Doom and Corridor 67, right? That was
Corridor
the name
7.
Of the game?
Corridor 7, yeah.
Yeah, Corridor 7.
Very much, very much, very much based off Wolfenstein and Doom. Similar kind of thing. They added some new stuff in there. I think the one thing that's kind of funny, the reason they call it the Ludicrous edition, is they leaned really hard into the violence aspect of it. So whenever
I thought you were going to say because Ludacris was in it.
Oh no, he wasn't even a rapper at that point.
I thought he was an added edition.
No. Whenever you would kill enemy, well, not whenever, but sometimes when you would kill enemies, it would say Ludicrous Gibbs. Or Jibs, or however you want to pronounce it, because there was so many little pieces of flesh that would fly off the enemy, and it would say like Ludicrous Gibbs, so they're calling it the Ludicrous edition, which I think is kind of awesome. Not to mention they had a magic mushrooms power up, which would, it was like a drug hallucination. You'd become like invincible like Mario, and you'd kind of like his screen would shake and move left and right. Yeah. It's fun stuff, man. Good game.
Then we got from M2, Tiger Heli, the collection, the NES version, Genesis, overseas version, Twin Cobra, Famicom, Mega Drive, and PC Engine version. And it comes with Get Star, which is the arcade version, and Guardian, which is the Western arcade version of Get Star. I wasn't a big fan of this growing up. I did play this. I do own Tiger Heli NES.
I think the only one that we really got over here, though, that we would have played would have been the NES version, which is good. Yes. It's a good game, but this is everything. Get all the versions, get all the the Japanese, the Western versions, and it's M2. Like M2 is legit. M2 did the Sega Ages collection for initially on the Saturn, I think, and then ported forward to I think the PS2 and most recently on the Switch. They did the great port of Virtua Racing. They're a very good company. Yeah, M2 is legit.
Then we got Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles soundtrack collection, vinyl, CD, and cassette tape. And that comes from all the games that came out, all the vintage games from back in the day. If you're a big soundtrack guy, this is cool.
For sure. It's important to note that they are all separate. So you get, if you buy one of the soundtracks, let's say you buy Turtles in Time, you get the Turtles in Time soundtrack. You don't get the original on Nintendo or the arcade the first arcade version. So they're all separate.
I would get Turtles in Time. Because that's my favorite. Sure. That's one of my top 10 games of all time.
Now, would you get it on CD? Would you get it on record? Or would you get it on cassette tape? Because they're all coming out.
I would get it on CD.
Yeah? Okay. Because I obviously, records make sense. The CD thing kind of makes sense. The cassette tape thing is awesome. I'm glad they're going the extra mile. And
come on, where's 8 tracks? It should be on 8. It should come out on 8 track.
Nobody has any love for 8 track.
I know they don't love 8 track.
No, and nobody's even making retro 8 track technology where you can play 8 tracks.
I know.
It's just not a thing. Terrible tech.
So the next one was a surprise to me. We're getting El Shaddai Ascension of Metatron, which was a game that came out on the original Xbox. The Xbox 360.
The original El Shaddai did, yeah.
Yeah, the original El Shaddai. Yeah.
Now
I wasn't expecting.
This is a brand new El Shaddai.
I wasn't expecting a sequel to come out.
Right. Well, this is the thing, brand new.
And if it did, I would expect it to be like a Xbox conference or Xbox showcase or even PlayStation.
It wasn't exclusive to Xbox, right? No. Yeah, it was a third party, I think.
Did it? Well, it wasn't made by a first party studio, but I don't think it came out on the PS3.
Maybe not. Yeah, maybe not.
I think it was a 360 exclusive.
It may have been. Yeah. It's an interesting property. Not the most fervent fan base, but I guess they had people that really wanted to make it, and limited runs we'll totally produce this. I don't know if they're doing it directly in house or not, but yeah, it's wild. They are now a full on publisher as opposed to just a physical edition producer. So.
Then we got Shantae Advance Risky's Revolution. This was a finished game that never actually got released.
Yeah,
for the Game Boy Advance, which is kind of crazy. And it's going to come out on cartridge, and it's going to be playable. They wanted it to be playable on the Game Boy Advance with 4-player link cable.
Yeah.
So you can play with 4 players if you have the link cable connection on your Game Boy Advance. Pre-orders start in September. And it actually bridges the gap because the Shantae games that came on after they actually got officially released after the first game, which didn't sell that well.
The GBC
had characters that Shantae already knew, and it was sort of like, how did they meet? And this is sort of like the origin of how all those characters actually met.
Sure. The other thing, you only need one copy of the game to do the link cable thing, which is awesome.
Yes.
That's stuff. One person, you obviously have to have the 4-player link or whatever, and all the cables and all that, but you just need one copy of the game, which is good.
So I don't usually buy games when they say, "Hey, we're putting it on like an old cartridge." But since this is something that actually was done and should have been released, but the sales of the first game, prohibited it from anybody actually putting this out and publishing it. I think I will buy this for the Game Boy Advance.
Sure.
This will be my sort of retro style game that that I will be buying brand new.
Right.
Because it was finished and should have came out, so I will get this. I am going to pick this up.
For sure.
Another game I'm thinking about picking up is Arzette, the Jewel of Fomor. This is a spiritual successor to the Zelda Philips CDI games with all the original voice actors
of those Zelda games, which is wild.
Of those Zelda games.
And they drop some.
Technically, this is not a new game, by the way. Game is already out that they're giving a physical edition to.
They definitely. I didn't realize this was out already, but they definitely dropped some key quotes from those Zelda games. Because it was terrible. I don't think it was the voice actor's fault necessarily, but I love that they got everybody back. I love that it essentially looks and feels like those old Zelda CDI games, but doesn't play terribly. So, yeah. Oh, love it.
We got Plumbers Don't Wear Ties, the definitive edition, announced for the third time, but they swear it's coming out in September. So you will be able to pre-order this in September.
The most non-game game ever, I think. There's nothing to this. There's nothing. No, it's true. There's nothing to the game.
Well, it's to show you that plumbers don't wear ties. It makes sense.
Well, I thought people knew that already, but.
Oh, you know what? There may be some plumbers that do wear ties. Who knows?
I don't think they're plumbers, though. that would go against the title.
They can be plumbers.
Anybody, I suppose.
Then we got another Crusade, which is an RPG inspired by the Super Mario RPG game. I was going to say franchise, but there is no real franchise. There's only one game that ever came out.
Well, Paper Mario was the spiritual successor, but they had to get rid of all the references. So
true, but Paper Mario was vastly different than Super Mario RPG in style, look, and characters, other than the fact of
they had to get rid of all the references. But gameplay wise, it's different. But
I was a little disappointed in this. They announced that the Gargoyles remastered game that they will be putting that out physically.
Yeah,
I was sort of disappointed that we didn't see any gameplay from that. The remastered, it was just announced before, right?
Do you think the gameplay is going to be any different than the original? It's going to be the original.
Well, I want to know what it looks like. It's the remastered version. We have no idea what it looks like. It was announced before. They just announced it.
Yeah.
They showed the old game in the cartoon. They never showed anything about the remastered version.
Yeah, because it's like a year out at least. They got a while to go with this game. So.
And from Way Forward, we got Clock Tower. Right, the actual physical release of the original spooky game that inspired Resident Evil, I believe.
Right, that was on the Super Nintendo and never came to Western shores. Some of the other Clock Tower games did come out here on the PlayStation, I think, 2 and 3, and I think they may have made a Clock Tower 4. I am super hyped for Clock Tower. Clock Tower. Yeah, crazy. Partially inspired Resident Evil for sure. Definitely that and Sweet Home, I think, are the two big influences for the Resident Evil series. So,
okay. Then we got. This was sort of, I think, one of their biggest announcements that they announced, that the Jurassic Park Classic Games Collection is coming. Pre-orders are going to be September 1st. And this is all the Jurassic Park games that came out. Genesis. It looks like the Genesis, Super Nintendo, and even the Game Boy games.
And also the NES, too. There was a couple on the NES, or one or two.
Was there any? I don't remember that. NES.
It was in the trailer. Yeah, it was in the trailer. The
Actually, I do. You know what? I do own that game. So you're right. I don't remember it.
It's the Super Nintendo version on the Nintendo. Modified, obviously, because there's no Mode 7 when you go into the dungeons. But
one of the best Jurassic Park games, retro Jurassic Park games to be released, was on the Saturn, right? And I think it came out on PS1 as well. But the Saturn version was the best one.
What game was on the PlayStation 1 and Saturn? Wasn't Trespasser, right? That was PC only.
No. I could look it up right now.
No, it is fine. I just thought you knew offhand.
The Lost World. The Lost World was one of the best ones.
Terrible movie. I guess the game was a lot better.
The game was definitely a lot better.
Okay. Wow.
Well, speaking of PlayStation, this was a PlayStation exclusive. We're getting Tomba. That's actually getting a physical remastered released. So there were Tomba 1 and 2. I do own those on the original PS1, so that's coming out.
I believe those games are a bit pricey too, so it's good to see.
They are a bit
good to see
pricey.
These coming out. Now, you're not going to get the thing that ideally would happen. The price of the PS1 games are not going to go down because they're different, but this opens the door for more people to play them and not have to pay $100+ for the game. So it's good in that respect.
And then the biggest announcement, which I'm not gonna lie, I was a little.
I don't know about the biggest.
Okay, was the
final announcement.
Well, it depends if they're fans of the fans of the franchise.
Mm-hmm.
This was their final announcement, and I'm not gonna lie, I was a little tricked at the beginning because I thought it was GoldenEye. I thought they were putting out a physical edition of GoldenEye.
They meant to do it like that. I mean, like right down to the fire in the background and the intro and the little guy coming out, the silhouette. Yeah.
But they're getting a physical edition of the Gex trilogy.
Mm-hmm.
Come on, man! This Gex was great. He was the 3DO mascot for a while.
Gex was fine, the games are okay.
He was the 3DO mascot.
Essentially, yeah. But he wasn't exclusive to definitely wasn't exclusive to the 3DO because it came out on PlayStation, came out on Saturn.
Afterwards. It came out afterwards.
Oh, yeah.
When the 3DO sort of was a sinking ship. Then that exclusivity sort of went away.
Right.
But because it did come out on the PlayStation and N64, and at that point the 3DO was done. It did come out. It did come out to those platforms.
Mm-hmm.
I'm actually looking forward to this because I think Gex was an underrated mascot of the time, and those games were better than what people remember, and it's just because it came out. They were ported. They came out later because the 3DO, nobody wanted to buy the 3DO. It was too expensive and nobody cared.
Yeah.
Gex wasn't a leading, couldn't be a leader to lead a platform to prominence like, Mario and Sonic. But I mean,
it tried. I think
those games were pretty good and underrated of the time.
Sure, and it's got Dana Gould doing all the voice acting ever since the first one. Most notably, I mean, he's a stand-up comedian and whatnot, but he was a writer for The Simpsons for a while.
Was he? I didn't know that.
I
did not know.
Yeah, he was, I think, in the second shift or the second round of writers. So after what people call the golden era, I think is when Dana Gould came in around season 8, season 9, maybe. I think he was there for a couple of years. I love him. I think he's great. He's got his own podcast. He still does stand up. I like him a lot. He's a big horror buff. He loves the classic horror movies. Yeah.
I thought you were going to say he's a big Gex fan.
Well, I mean, I would assume. Now, I don't know if he's coming back to do any new material, record any new lines or whatever else, or if they're just going to use what they have and then just, try and AI upscale the stuff to make it sound cleaner and a lot better. I don't know.
Okay. Mm-hmm. All right, and that was the limited run showcase. Mm-hmm. I thought it was great.
Yeah,
it was great. I like
awesome.
the premise.
Well, let's get a little more into the premise.
I like the games, the announcements more last year than this year. But the overall premise of this sort of like made it for me.
Well,
and not to these games were bad by any means, because they weren't. I thought these were great announcements.
no, I think it was a good showing. Yeah.
Yeah. No, it was a great show.
Well, let's give a little more context to the premise, right? Because we kind of teased it a little bit, right? So it was like a 1995 E3 conference, which was like the first year of E3 way back in the day. But the conceit was that they went back in time to save E3 because there's no E3 this year. But they made it out to be that going back in time and having this conference or whatever saved E3. E3 2023 actually happened. They're like, stay tuned for E3 2024. And then at the end, they realized that like they didn't save anything. E3 2023 didn't happen. And the guy on stage in Back to the Future fashion, he holds his hand up and it's like he starts disappearing. And it's like, oh no, there's like, the timeline has been altered in a way. And it's like, oh no, like what's going to happen? So I thought that was kind of neat.
So since this was sort of like their E3 showing, and they didn't do it around the same time as E3 as they did in past years. Let's give it a rating. What would you rate their E3 showcase 2023?
A plus, man. Come on now. A plus.
Really? Wow. I just
mean,
give it an A.
Yeah.
I give it an A.
plus.
I give it an A.
You're
I give it an A. I don't know
right
about
there.
plus. I give it an A. I give it a straight A.
A plus. Loved all the announcements. Loved the presentation. The running time was good. There was no fat. A plus. No notes. No notes.
I disagree with the fat. There was some games that were like questionable why they would be here.
What?
But,
what? Give me one. Give me one. You're like, I don't know about that.
That was like. There was a bunch of them that was actually that I cut from the show. I took a list of all.
Well, there was a lot.
30,
there was like 30 some odd games. Yeah.
That I cut, and I had to cut more than half of them because I was like,
they were less interesting than the ones that featured. These were
Yes.
kind of the cream of the crop.
Yes, and some of those that were less interesting, I think those could have been fat for me.
Sure.
Not games that I was really
Okay. All right.
I still give it an A. I still give it an A.
Exactly.
It's better than when I give. It's better when I give most of the conferences. I gave all the conferences A minus. I gave this one an A.
Right.
I think their premise really did it for me.
And we barely had any brand new games, and they still get an A.
Yeah, there you go.
It's all just physical.
So, something that I know that they're not going to put out a physical for because EA will put out a physical for is the Black Panther game that they officially announced. We talked about it as a rumor that could be in the works, and we talked about what we would want from it. EA has announced a single-player Black Panther game that's currently in development, developed by a recently established Seattle-based studio from Cliffhanger Games, headed by Kevin Stevens, former studio head of Monolith Productions.
Right.
So,
different. This is not the Monolith that puts out the Xenoblade games. Different
totally
Monolith. This is the Monolith that put out the Blood franchise, because there was at least two of them. This is that Monolith who did No One Lives Forever. Yeah, so I'm kind of hype. I do enjoy Monolith.
Let's see what happens. I mean, it's a Black Panther game, right? And it's EA that doesn't have like the best track record of working with single player games because they want multiplayer microtransaction style games going forward. So let's see what happens.
Yeah. I think this is well good.
Well, they're doing this under the guise of Marvel, Disney telling them this is what we want, right? And hopefully they've learned their lesson from doing the Battlefront games, and we got the Jedi Survivor game.
I feel like this is going to be in that vein of completely single player. You won't have. You have to get what is it? Vibranium. You got to get you can buy Vibranium to like upgrade Black Panther's suit. I don't think it's going to be that. I think it's going to be a $70 AAA game, open world, where you play in the Wakandan world.
$19.99. Can't spend $19.99 for Vibranium / Animanium.
No.
To be invincible in this game. No,
I don't want any of that. I don't think they're going to do that. If they are going to do that, nobody's going to buy it. I don't think there's going to be a multiplayer component. I feel like it's going to be its own thing.
I want to get Black Panther game in Wakanda in the style or vein of what now Microsoft may own. As you're listening to the show, Wolverine, the game that came out on the 360, right? That was made by Activision, so they may not own the likeness or anything, but they do own the rights to the assets to that actual game. They can actually work out a deal with Marvel to maybe put out a remastered version of that, which would be awesome too.
Oh yeah, they could.
They wouldn't do because they have the new Wolverine game coming out. But I'm saying that's what I would want this game to be in the vein of, and hopefully it is, because that was awesome. That was the best Wolverine game to be released ever.
Oh wow, okay. This is big words. Yeah, yeah. I mean, I think it's going to be good. It's obviously years away. It's at least 2 years out, guaranteed. Because 2
or 3.
They just announced it. They basically did the written version of what Nintendo did with Metroid Prime 4. They put out a JPEG online. They're just saying we're working on it. So we may get a teaser trailer next year, but yeah, it's definitely like 2 years out for sure.
I got some sad news, Dave. Larry Hyrb, better known as Major Nelson, has announced he's stepping away from Microsoft, stepping away from Xbox after practically 2 decades of working for Microsoft. Major Nelson, as I just love to, I hate to call him Larry. I just call him Major Nelson.
Of course,
he got Major Nelson. He got Major Nelson from the 1960s television comedy I Dream of Jeannie.
Shoot! I didn't know that's where that came from.
Did you not know that? That's Major Nelson from I Dream of Jeannie. The husband to the genie was Major Nelson.
Yeah, that's right. Because he was in the army, I guess, or I guess Navy, maybe, or he was in one of the military. Yeah.
He started at Microsoft in 2001 as the editor-in-chief for MSN Music, which I did not know that. He became a senior project manager on the Xbox team in 2003 and contributed to many features of Xbox 360 and Xbox Live, including achievement systems, cloud saving, party chat, and in-game messaging. He became a senior director of corporate communications in 2012. And he's stepping away after 20 years. It would be funny if he was going to Sony. That would be funny if he was going away to go. He's not retiring by any means. He's doing something. The next chapter in his life, we don't know what that means, but he could be working. Who knows?
I heard that he's going to Sony and he's getting a promotion. He's now going to be Major General. Major General Nelson. He's getting an upgrade, Dan. He's getting an upgrade. Yeah.
Just so you know, there's no Major General. He would be just General.
There's a Major General.
I don't think there's a Major General.
That's the freaking Gilbert and Sullivan song. I am the very model of a modern Major General. Come on now.
I don't think that's the real. I don't think that's
very much a Major General class. I mean, it's at least in the Pirates of the Penzance song or whatever it is.
I don't know if there's a Major.
I don't know. Maybe not. Maybe not. He's getting an upgrade now. I'll tell you that. He's going to be a Rear Admiral, Dan. He's going to be a Rear Admiral.
He's definitely getting an upgrade. Yeah. He's definitely getting an upgrade.
Now, I think it's important to note Larry Hyrb's contribution to the Xbox. He was critical. He was a GOAT. To me, he is, I think, just as important as Phil Spencer is to the current era of Microsoft, or Xbox, I should say. He made a lot of good moves, like you said, with all the contributions to the Xbox 360 and the Xbox Live ecosystem, the way that it was set up with the achievements, the way the party chat and all that stuff came about. Here are the things we need to really excel in this online space with video games, because it was still kind of like a lot of companies have tried all the way back to the original NES. They tried to do online functionality with their gaming to various levels of success, and they're like, no, we're going to do it. We're going to do it right. Here's what we need, and they hit on all those points, like all the way back to the original 360 with their online component. Like, it was good out the gate, and it only got better. So big ups to Larry Hyrb.
So since I would say this. He was another figurehead, another personality in the gaming sphere, right? For Xbox, that was great. Who's going to do the weekly updates? I love it when he does the weekly updates. Right?
He's gonna have to get somebody new in that position. Yeah.
But since he's being promoted to Major General, as you say, what do you think he's going to go? What do you think he's going to do?
I don't know. He may take some time off and relax down in the Caribbean. I mean, why not? Why not?
But who's going to take over from MajorNelson.com? Because that's like you had PlayStation Blog where you get all like a lot of the PlayStation news from PlayStation, right? Like MajorNelson.com is where people or Xbox. No, it was MajorNelson.com and Xbox Live. That's where they got a lot of the news from Xbox, from Microsoft.
Well, I wonder
like what's going to happen with that.
I wonder if he still owns, or I wonder if he would be able to still run and own MajorNelson.com, or if it's property of Microsoft, given how interwoven it is. I don't know where that IP is, because Major Nelson is legit his personality, his online persona or whatever, like, hey, I'm Major Nelson. But it was so ingrained and tied to the Xbox brand. I wonder if like Microsoft will be like, you can do what you want with it, or if they're going to be like, we own the likeness and the rights and you got to do your own thing. I don't know.
Well, they can't buy Larry Hyrb, but they could own Major Nelson because that's not his real name.
Well, so there you go. Yeah.
All right. I didn't want to end on a sad note, but I will end with something that is super creative. This guy online he hooked up his Xbox controller to a car battery.
Okay.
Which is kind of weird and cool at the same time, so he can never run out of power. It'll take a long time for him to run out of power on his Xbox controller.
I don't think it's really draining that much from his battery. I was going to ask why, but that's the stupid question. The answer is because. The answer is always because.
Because he can.
Exactly. Oh, it's like kind of wild. It does take a little bit of doing.
It does.
Right? Because you got to get the voltages right. You got to get the amperage right. You don't want to like overload the controller. You want to be able to feed in enough juice.
Controller to blow up.
Yeah, no, exactly. You definitely don't want that to happen because like it's got no internal battery, so it just runs off either power directly from the Xbox or like a USB-C outlet, or you put batteries in it and you just run it off the batteries wirelessly. So
yeah, well, bringing it full circle with Falcon and Twisted Metal, post-apocalyptic world, comedy or not, you can still play video games because you have power if you get a battery.
Well, you still got to run the Xbox and the TV and maybe a sound system on top of that to get the actual experience. So,
all right, you need 4 car batteries, and then you can run everything you want.
Well, there you go. You're just gonna have like a sea of open like hoods out in the desert, right, with a little umbrella on top and a little like margarita drink, and you're like, I'm good.
All right, Dave. That's it for the news. You got any good weekend plans?
Yeah. I'm gonna take a very cold bath for the whole entire weekend because it is hot right now, Dan. I know we talked about it at the top of the show, but it's a hot weekend. Now it is supposed to rain, so
supposed to rain today.
That may cool things down a little bit, but
I don't see any clouds.
Yeah, man. Probably honestly, probably gonna play some more Diablo and whatnot. Make some more progress in that because that game is great. I think Diablo 4 is really good. So, how about you?
Probably nothing. Just maybe go back into Zelda, take a break from Final Fantasy May Cry.
You're not gonna take it to completion. You got to just beat it. And you got to
take it to completion. I got to take a break. You got to take a break, but I think I may try to go to the beach if it doesn't rain. That would be nice.
Okay. Well, there you go. Well, folks, that is the summer edition of Rated G for Gamers. That's episode 369 in the books, folks. And we want to thank you guys for listening to the show, for liking, commenting, doing all the good stuff that you guys do. If you want to interact with us, and we know that you do, you can find us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, and Threads at Rated G for Gamers. So please listen, like, rate, review, and subscribe. And as always,
keep gaming.